Myra Rodriguez joins us today to talk about her experience of leaving Planned Parenthood after she saw a woman with the head of a baby left inside of her after an abortion. You're not going to want to miss this story. Coming up right now.
Joining us via Zoom chat right now is Myra Rodriguez, former Planned Parenthood whistleblower turned Hispanic pro-life leader. Praise be to God. Good morning to you, Myra.
Good morning. How are you?
Praise be to God. I am alive, and that counts. How are you?
I'm alive too, and we're here, and we're fighting for the unborn, right?
Amen. Amen. Praise be to God. So let's talk about your story. Planned Parenthood whistleblower. You're from Mexico. Tell us about how did you get involved with Planned Parenthood? You worked for them for a long time. You were Employee of the Year. Tell us about the story.
Well, yes. So let's start with saying that I was born in Mexico City. I moved to the United States when I was only 18 years of age with a tourist visa. And then after that, not having a working visa, you have limitations, right? And I did like the healthcare. So then one day my friend was like, Planned Parenthood will hire you. They don't care, right? They don't care about the work permit, right?
Wow.
And they help women, right? That's what she said. And then I got there, and I'm going to be honest with you, I knew hardly anything about Planned Parenthood, but they were helping women, right? I remember one question, which was, so what do you think about abortion? And I said, well, I wouldn't have one. I'm Catholic, raised Catholic, born Catholic from Mexico City. You can imagine Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Right.
It's our patroness. So I was like, I wouldn't have one, but if someone else does, that's her body and that's her choice. A phrase that I learned here in high school, right? In my high school in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I started working for them in non-abortion clinics, and I was defending them. I truly believe in their mission. I truly believe that they were helping women, and I was a devoted employee and loyal, and I worked harder than anyone because they opened the door to the American dream for me, right? I mean, who else gave undocumented person the chance to work in what they always dream of, which was the medical field. And I know what I said when I say what they always dream on. It's not like we dream of working for an abortion clinic,
right,
or an abortion center, but it was to help women, in the medical field. And I was working mostly in clinics that did preventive care, right? I mean, I was so loyal to them that they sent me in 2017, if you recall, when Trump was about to remove title from them, a bunch of people went lobbying in Congress in D.C., and I was there with Cecile Richards, because that's how loyal I was. They chose me to go there to fight for Title X, which was the government assistance program that they received. And then I was so loyal that they gave me Employee of the Year award in 2016. And after that, it came, Myra, you're ready to be the director of the abortion clinic, the biggest abortion clinic in the state of Arizona. And that's where my story began. That's how I got to Planned Parenthood.
Wow, that's where your story begins. Oh, that's a heck of a ride just to get to that point. I could imagine, though, that there was some difficulty internally, emotionally, maybe spiritually or psychologically, even at this stage of your journey with participating in abortion. You must have seen the effect of abortion on these women that are coming in and out of these clinics.
When you're working in these centers, it's very easy to excuse everything, right? I got to see women before being the director of the abortion clinic. I got to see the women either before or after the abortion, right? So it's very easy to excuse whatever you see to something else, right? Until you're there. I can promise you this is why so many people are so blindsided by Planned Parenthood and other abortionists, because it's very hard to see the truth unless you're inside. Right. So when I became the director of the abortion clinic and I started seeing what everyone else was talking about, and I was like, no, that's not true. Right. Because they tell you that. Right. Something comes up on the news. The Planned Parenthood is very quick to send their employees memos saying whatever you hear is not true. We're telling you the truth. Right. Just trust us. Right. So then you're like, oh, OK. Was it true? Was I blind? Yes, of course. I'm justifying myself that I was blindsided because I was being selfish. I had the American dream. I had a job. I had medical benefits. I have other benefits that I couldn't have without being there, right? So in a way, it's like you don't want to see what you shouldn't see. So then that way you're comfortable working there, right? But then I became the director of abortion clinic, and I saw what? The complications go under the rug. The abortionists that didn't care for women, right? That to him, it was just a business. It was just numbers. It was just, I have to see 35 to 40 patients a day and in 15 minutes each patient, right? less than even a dentist takes to tell you which molar he should take out, right?
Wow.
The dentist will take longer explaining you what tooth he should remove than the abortion is removing a baby from the womb. So in this case, I start seeing the perforations go unreported. And why? Why is that so important? I always make sure that people understand why is it so important for a doctor to report the complication, because this is where statistics come from. Our statistics come from the responsibility of these doctors, scientists, whatever, reporting, so we know how bad abortion can be to women. If they're not reporting them, this is why you hear people say, a statistic says that only this many women get hurt, right? Well, they're not being reported. And then I saw a statutory rape, right? Minors go pregnant by adults and not being reported. And I reported all this, I was like, okay, I'm the loyal manager, they want me to catch this, right? Like maybe they don't know he's doing this, right? So I have to speak up. I have to tell them. Yeah, that did not go well.
We're talking with Myra Rodriguez. She's a former Planned Parenthood clinic manager, employee of the year, and a whistleblower against Planned Parenthood. I want to reiterate something you just said, Myra, about how you felt the need to ensure that all perforations were reported. We have seen many times, especially like where we are here in our studio is just down the street from the largest abortion clinic in the United States, for sure. Some say the Western Hemisphere, and rivals the largest in the world. We've seen ambulances show up at that door, on the back door, because they don't want anybody seeing it or press reporting it, and they've had to get Freedom of Information Act filed to get the copies of the 911 calls. And these women go in there for abortions, and they're fighting for their lives coming out because of these perforations. How often did that occur in your time as Planned Parenthood clinic manager?
Daily. This was happening daily. And let me explain to you that this is the ones that you actually get to see, right? Because there's the women that no one knows they were perforated. Not even the doctor can tell that he perforated. Why? Because this is a blinded surgery. He can't see what he's doing. So obviously he cannot see when they're perforating. They cannot see the scars that they leave women after their abortion and their uterus when they scrape them to make sure everything was out. They can't see that. So obviously some of them go unreported just because no one knew. It's when that woman takes forever to get healed, that keeps bleeding, that keeps having really bad cramps, that keep having really bad pain, and they keep telling her, oh, this is normal. Oh, some women get more pain than others. Oh, some women bleed more than others. Oh, it's normal for you to take 6 months to recover from this abortion. And that probably she had a perforation. The perforations we have heard of is because women couldn't take the pain anymore, either go to the emergency room or they bleed so much that they can stop it. But there's perforations that are not that big. They still happen.
Wow. And how serious and life-threatening are those perforations for these women?
Very. I mean, a woman can lose their life. And not also, it's about life-threatening. This is the reason why some of them can get pregnant after. It's the scarring on their uterus after that perforation when it heals, that prevents them sometimes from getting pregnant again. So we're not only talking about these women losing their life, right, but even losing the chance to become mothers again.
We're talking with Myra Rodriguez, a former Planned Parenthood Employee of the Year, a clinic manager, and now a whistleblower to what's going on behind the scenes over there at Planned Parenthood. Now, so was this the issue that began to turn for you, where you decided that you needed to let the world know about what's going on? How did you go from managing the clinic and being Employee of the Year to pro-life? How does that transformation work?
So basically, how did I go from being the loyal employee to their enemy, right?
Right.
So, well, when I reported all this, the case that was a drop, right? Like there's always something, that spills the glass, right? And the last drop was, there was a 19-year-old girl that was 14 weeks pregnant, and the doctor performed the abortion and left the head inside. The assistant told him, hey, we're missing. This is the part where the assistants go into that product of conception room, also known as the POC room, to put that puzzle together of the baby, right? Making sure everything's there. And the assistant comes back and says, you're missing the head. And he says, look everywhere. And he was refusing to check for it. He sent them to check everywhere. And he was moving on, right? Remember I told you at the beginning, he wants to take 10 to 15 minutes on each patient. So he wanted to move on. It was Sunday. He wants to go home. And then the assistant goes into my office and she was crying and she was very worried about it. And she said, I already told him he's missing the head. He's not listening. I know I could get fired, but I had to tell you. So I go in the back and get into an argument with the doctor. And then I tell him, it seems that you're missing the head. And he says, go look for it in the trash. That right there, referring to a baby, 14-week head as trash, just if it was another piece of gauze, another trash from what he had done, and not caring about it. After the argument, he decided to finally agree to perform an ultrasound and find the head right above an IUD that he had already inserted. So if it wasn't from the pressure of the employees telling him to go back, that patient would have gone home. That 19-year-old would have gone home and probably died from a septicemia, from the baby parts being inside her, left there with an IUD, which would have prevented her from exposing the head. He refused to document the chart because he will falsify patient charts, meaning nothing that happened in the room will be documented in their chart. The charts always look like abortion done without complications. So I left the clinic, called my supervisor, said, that's it, no more. I'm not going to stand by this. I'm not going to stay quiet. I will go to wherever I need to go, but this will not keep going on. That got me fired, as you can imagine. That loyal employee was now a threat to Planned Parenthood. And I got fired. So with the help of a lot of people in the pro-life community, people that were praying outside my former clinic, I found my lawyer, Tim Casey, and I took my case to him and I explained my situation, the undocumented part, remember? And he said, you have rights, we're going to defend him. We started a lawsuit against Planned Parenthood for wrongful termination as a whistleblower protection act.
Wow. Yeah.
That is...
one of the arguments that we hear all the time is my body, my choice. And as you're talking about, the description of this doctor telling us to go look in a trash can for the head of this baby, I just can't imagine how someone can continue to make such an argument, my body, my choice, when clearly the body of the child is the one most devastated by the abortion. And so this was the thing that changed everything for you?
Well, yeah. Remember, for many years I worked in clinics that had nothing to do with abortion. I was in clinics that were preventing. I thought I was doing my part preventing abortion and unwanted pregnancies, right? That's what I call them, unwanted pregnancies, right? By being in the preventive care, my being blind was so comfortable for me, right? Because my personal life was like, I have benefits. Like, remember, I have the American dream. And that's what I mean. These women that say, it's my body, my choice. It's just that same thing, It just, you don't want to see what you have to see just because it's comfortable, right? Making excuses saying, it doesn't have any feelings yet. He's better dead than coming to this world. All those are excuses to just be selfish, to be honest, it is a selfish act because then you just think of yourself and they're not even thinking of themselves, right? Because women get hurt with abortion, so they're not even thinking of themselves. They're just thinking of that moment. And I did that for many years. I thought of that moment. I have a salary. I can take care of my children. I can provide. I can help, And then I'm undocumented and I still have a good job, right? I don't have to work babysitting or cleaning houses or stuff like some of my other people have to do, because unfortunately that's all that sometimes we can aim for, right? So we just justify, and that's what human beings do, right? We justify our acts, our selfish acts, just so we can have what we think will be a better life.
I think it's really important making the point about the selfishness of the act, because sometimes we get kind of antsy and we don't want to point out the obvious, but that abortion is self-worship. It's sacrificing your child at the altar of yourself. And I think that's really important that we point out. One thing, I don't know how familiar you are with the abortion situation in Mexico, being in the States, but are you familiar with what's going on in Mexico with abortion? And are they having the same issues as the States, or is it worse? Is it better? What's going on over there?
Yes, yeah, I'm very familiar. So just a quick date. On October 3rd of 2017, I got fired. And this year, on my 4th anniversary, I got to celebrate with Mexico City, marching with over 500,000 people in my hometown city. for life and for women. Why? Because the Supreme Court pulled out Roe versus Wade the Mexican way, which was despenalizing abortion. That's what they say, despenalizing. We didn't legalize it. It's the same thing, right? Why? Because when you despenalize abortion, you're allowing the doctors to perform these abortions that they were already being done illegally. The same doctors, the same back alley abortions will be happening with a license now, right? And then will be taxed by the government, right? Win-win scenario, right? So how is that concern us on the states, right? Why? Because I'm accusing a doctor that it's just 2 hours away from the border from Arizona to Sonora, Mexico, which is Nogales, right? It will take nothing for him to cross the border and open a clinic and start performing abortions. Who can complain about him? I mean, I'm Mexican. It hurts me to say this, but Mexico is one of the most corrupted countries in the world. I mean, if you are Mexican, you know that with money, you can get almost anything, right? So can you imagine what people will have seen there and stay quiet? I mean, just here, I lasted 10 months as the abortion director, and I saw enough in those 10 months. Only 10 months it took for me as an abortion director, that to see what I couldn't see when I was just in non-abortion clinics. I don't know how people last longer than that and stay quiet. When people call me courageous, I always wonder why. I did the right thing, right? Speaking up should not be a choice. It's an obligation. I like to say that all the time because to me, that's what it was. Speaking up was not a choice. I was obligated to speak up for women, speak up for the unborn, and speak up for the business of Planned Parenthood, because that's what I call it. And that's what's happening in Mexico. Planned Parenthood had a business plan since 2007, and that's to expand their business in every border town, city with our country. Why? Because if things get harder here like they did in Texas, they open a clinic at the border and our kids will go there.
So what should we say to people? Because I get this all the time. We talk to people, and personally, being aware of the situation of Planned Parenthood, I'm very well aware that we should trust nothing that comes out of Planned Parenthood. Everything they say is a lie. All their statistics are lies. Everything they do is a lie. I mean, if you're willing to kill babies, what aren't you willing to do? But many people would say, oh, well, Planned Parenthood claims, says they do this, says they do that. They only do, abortion's only 2% of what they do. The other statistics they throw out, we save women by providing ultrasounds and all these other things. How do we respond to these accusations or these, I guess, defenses of Planned Parenthood?
That was me. That was me for many years. At my clinic, we help these many women prevent from cervical cancer, just by screening them for their pap smear, right? And I was defending them right until I find out that it wasn't 3%. First of all, I will welcome them to see the testimony of the many former abortion workers that have left that industry, like mine, like Abby Johnson, like Patricia Sandoval, like all that many, and then they were not, which is one of the ministries from Abby Johnson. It's more than 500 of us that have left the abortion industry and cooperate or work together with them and heal with them. We call ourselves a tribe because we heal together. Right? And it's more than 500 of us. So when you hear the testimony of people leaving that industry to become pro-life and tell you, what we have seen inside there, and I'm talking from employees that were there for maybe 30, 60 days to employees that were there like me, 17, 25 years, right? Like Sue Thayer, who now runs the 40 Days for Life campaigns, right? So when people hear this, you tell them that. You say, look at how many former abortion doctors or employees have left that industry and their testimonies and what they have seen. This is a corporation. What shocks me constantly is we have this new wave of Jew people going against corporations, right? Except Apple and Planned Parenthood, right? That's not a corporation to them, right? Because they all want the newest iPhone and they all want to be cool, like in Planned Parenthood, right? But it's just a brainwash. It's a brainwash because they know that we have a new generation that it's more selfish than what we have seen before, right? Now, which I will say my generation probably started it all.
Myra, I'm curious to know what role did your Catholic faith and your Mexican roots, especially you're Mexican, you have a Mexican cultural background. What role did your love for your Mexican culture and your love for your Catholic faith have in your decision for leaving Planned Parenthood? Or were you a faithful Catholic prior to this, or did your Catholic faith increase after having been exposed to what Planned Parenthood does?
Thank you, Janice, for this question, because hardly anyone has asked me that. Well, I was born and raised Catholic in Mexico City, right? I was just telling them right before this that, I mean, the Virgin of Guadalupe is her patroness, right? My mother's name is Guadalupe. You can imagine my poor mother, how I quieted her conscience for many years, and for many years I will tell her, Mom, where I work, we don't do abortions, right? And this is how I will quiet her conscience, right? Now, was I a faithful Catholic? No. If I would have been a faithful Catholic, I would not have been there, right? I can tell you that I was far away from my church. Why? Because every time I go to church, I will hear people asking people to pray outside of where I work. And I'm like, I'm not going there. Then my mom will be like, you have to go to church this Sunday. I'm like, nah, Mom, I'm going to skip, right? So I was not that faithful. I was far away from my church, and I started falling, So when I keep saying that, in Spanish, we'll say I was conchuda Catholic, which was like, like we would go to church whenever it was a holiday, and that's it, right? But then after I left, this lady that was praying outside of the clinic has been praying for 25 years, right? She got worried when I get fired. I mean, I don't know who does that. Who can get worried when the director of the abortion clinic gets fired? But she did, and she found her way to get my number, and she texted me and says, I hope you don't mind, but can I talk to you? I call her. She said, do you want me to help you find healing? She took me to a priest in a church nearby my house, and I started healing, and I came back to our church. And that's the truth. Just a quick update. Last Sunday, we were at the Family Rosary in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was the first time Lynn, which is the person that I told you about outside of the clinic, and I prayed the rosary together. She came and whispered in my ear, not in a million years did I dream praying the rosary together with you one day, Myra. Because all this time when I worked there, I looked at her through the window and she kept praying, and she will tell me I'm praying. When I took the job as the director of the abortion clinic, my mother was so worried about me that gave me a rosary to put on my mirror, right? So she noticed that I was Catholic, and from that moment I was like, you're Catholic, how could you be here? You know what I mean? Then I didn't understand her. Now I do, of course. After I have healed, after I come back to my church, and I have admitted, I was being selfish. I work in a place like that because I needed it, and I claimed it. I played to be blinded and not hearing the truth, but the truth was always there. And I just didn't want to see it because I was comfortable. Right?
Yeah. And I find that a lot of Mexican American people, we come to America and we practice our Catholic faith by tradition. We just follow it based on the tradition that has been passed down to us, but we never really take ownership of our Catholic faith. And I find that a lot of Hispanic Americans can basically put their Catholic faith on the back burner because it's not as they don't take ownership of their Catholic faith. And so what would you say is the remedy for the Mexican American culture, especially those that perhaps are not well educated on why we should not be supporting Planned Parenthood, or what were the statistics of? Did you see a lot of Hispanics coming into the clinic, and how can we remedy that, save the culture from this issue?
Exactly. And you hit the right point. It's saving our culture. That's what we have to do, because that's where all this is coming through, right? Removing our culture is the first step. And then that's how they get to our kids, right? Why? Because we now have kids that are like, they hardly want to speak Spanish or hardly want to do anything with being Mexican, right? Because their culture is gone. Right. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to start at home. And also our church has to help us more. Right. A lot of churches do, but talking about this, sometimes if I go to a mass here in Arizona, every priest will say, as part of the intentions, to pray for the unborn, of how abortion is a sin. But if I go to a mass in the state of California, I had hardly heard a priest say that. Wow. Like if you go to a liberal state, you hardly hear the priest say that, because they don't want to get into the more political issues. This is not political. Saving the unborn, saving women, it's not political. It's not about being Republican or Democrat. To us, it's about our religion, yes, because we're Catholic or Christian, and it's of what Christ wants us to do, right? But to many people who are atheists, it's not about religion. It's about human right? It's about saving the world, saving lives. It's about saying enough. We don't have to keep doing the human sacrifice for something that doesn't even exist. When I say that, it's why? Because women can do everything with their kids. So it's a lie. They're telling them and selling them a lie. And then one other thing that I would like to mention is being immigrant. It's what really pushed me to start this lawsuit. Because I have seen the immigrant community stay quiet too long. I have seen women get used by this abortion mill, by this abortion industry, right? Like what I saw in California was women that work in the field, they get pregnant by their foreman right there, and they get taken to Planned Parenthood to have abortions, no questions asked, right? And then you're like, oh, well, how nice, Planned Parenthood doesn't care about them. They don't even ask them for ID. And this is how they get to our people, right? You are safe to come here. No one will call ICE on you. No one will do anything. It doesn't matter if you don't have insurance. You can come to us. Oh, how nice of them, right? But the reality is they're doing that so they can come and have abortions without question asked. And they see the same guy bringing women to the same different clinics on the same area and not question asked why the same guy keeps bringing women.
Yes.
And this is a reality.
Let me, we only have a couple of minutes left in our conversation.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. We only have a couple of minutes left in our conversation with Myra Rodriguez. And I want to bring up, to sort of hit on this point that you just brought up, and that is the role of men. I'm giving a talk at the Men's March coming up in Baltimore. It's the National Men's March to End Abortion on November the 15th. The website is themensmarch.com. I myself am post-abortive, and so I've experienced this myself. But maybe in the next, you got about 2 minutes, can you talk about the role men have played? You gave a great example of the abuse of these migrant ladies by their foremans and others, but how often do we see men driving these women to these clinics? And, we're told all the time that men should not have an opinion on this. I say the contrary. What say you, Myra?
No, men should have an opinion of this. I could tell you that 50% of the women that seek abortion is because of their partner issues. They don't have a partner that will support them. Right? If not a little bit more. If I remember this specific patient that will be like, oh, my boyfriend is so good. I was with her in the recovery room waiting for her to leave because I had to cover up for the nurse. And then she said, oh, my boyfriend's outside. Oh, he's so good to me. And I say, honey, oh my God, honey. He's only making sure you get this done so he will have nothing to do with you. It's not that he's being supportive. He's making sure that he won't be responsible. And that's the main issue, right? So when people give you the excuse of a rape victim, the abortion is helping the rapist the most, not that woman, because she's not going to get better. She's not going to heal. Her trauma is never going to go away. Actually, her trauma will increase, And when we're talking about this young 19-year-old that, oh, you know what, I should have an abortion so I can finish school. We're just telling, I should have an abortion so then I will make that man responsible to help me raise a child and to help me pursue my career too, and together come out together. So yes, men have to speak up. We have to do better at home as mothers, as fathers, to teach our kids more responsibility, especially men, and to teach them how wrong it is to have to get someone pregnant and then tell her, go have an abortion, or, I'll support your decision. That's fine. That's the comfortable spot, right? I always say if whatever meant it's for abortion is because he's an irresponsible man.
All right. Well, we are out of time, but praise be to God. We're so very grateful for you being on our program, Myra Rodriguez. Former Planned Parenthood Employee of the Year and whistleblower. Thank you for your time today. If anybody wants more information about you and what you're doing to get the word out, how do they find you?
Well, I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's Myra Rodriguez or the real Myra Rodriguez. Sorry, there were too many Rodriguez in the world. That's quite a little word.
If you like that interview, then be sure to check out some of our other interviews that you might find fascinating. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share this interview with someone that you think will find this informative and inspiring. God love you.